Hello, I'm Dr. Priya Hassan, and today I'll be talking to you in AstroBits about planetary alignments. This is especially because I'm sure you've seen a lot on social media about the planetary alignment, which is to be happening very soon, and therefore I thought I would actually clear some misunderstandings that people have about them. So, planetary alignments are a phenomenon that occurs when two or more planets appear close to each other in the sky from a specific place. This is also called a conjunction, okay, where these two objects come this thing. One can also have what are called planetary transits when a planet comes in front. For example, Venus transited the sun, it came in front of the sun at some point. Or you can have an occultation where it gets covered, which is like an eclipse, right? So these are a result, obviously, of the dance and dynamics of planets in our solar system. And the particular alignment can occur, say, in this case, it's 175 years. So we know that there's a path in the sky which is covered by the sun and kind of the moon. Moon has a 5-degree angle, as well as all the planets of the solar system because they're all on one plane. And that path is called the ecliptic. Okay, so in the sky, the ecliptic is the path covered by the sun, by the star, by the planets, as well as the moon with the 5-degree angle, right? And this ecliptic is also marked by what we call the zodiacal constellations, which all of you are familiar with, the 12 zodiacal constellations, because that's the path which is covered by the sun through the year, right? So in principle, always the planets are always in this line, right? They're always in this line when you see it. But obviously, it's uncommon for all the 8 main planets to be in the same part of the sky. Yeah, because all of them are in their individual orbits going around the sun. All their velocities are different, their time periods are different, and therefore they may not be in the same part of the sky, right? And then not all planets that align are visible to the naked eye. Moon can also affect the visibility depending upon the phase of the moon. So typically, Mercury is very hard to see because it's very close to the sun. Venus is also close to the sun, but it's a little further away, and hence we can actually see it with the sun, right? In the sense you see it with the rising sun or the setting sun. Mars and Saturn are sometimes visible to the naked eye, not always, but they are kind of dim. Uranus, Neptune, these would require a telescope. You can't see it with that, right? Jupiter, you can see it very bright. It's very good. You can see it. So how do planets actually move? So like I told you, they are moving along the ecliptic, right? But there are planets which are called the inferior planets, which are basically Mercury and Venus, which have their orbits inside the Earth's orbit, and they basically follow the sun, right? If the planet isn't in conjunction with the sun, there's an angle between the two, and that is what is called an elongation. So you can have an elongation of the different planets which you have. Now, planets, superior planets, that means the planets who have their orbits outside the orbit of the Earth, right? So that is Mars, Jupiter, Uranus, Saturn, Neptune, Pluto. All of these, they actually typically move from the west to the east against background stars, and this is called prograde motion, okay? While the retrograde motion is from east to west. I will repeat that all the stars, they rise from the east and set in the west, but the planets have a different motion, and that is why they were called the planets, which basically means a wanderer. They do not follow the path of stars. And a planet may have some amount of prograde motion and some amount of retrograde motion. So it may go back and forth in the sky. It doesn't move in one direction, okay? Now, like we said, Mercury and Venus pass through the Earth and the Sun when it happens conjunctions. Otherwise, there's an elongation. Elongations vary for this thing. While superior planets also have an elongation, and accordingly you can have it. And I also told you about retrograde motion. Now, the planetary alignment where you've heard about, there are pictures which are very misleading, which show all the planets in a straight line. That basically means here are the different orbital periods of the planets. This is Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars. You can see the values of the orbital periods. And if they were to be in a straight line, yeah, you would require all of them to come together. That means you'll have to see the LCM of all of them coming together so that they can be like that. And that's it. Now, astrologers, they have always found planetary alignments interesting because they think obviously that different planets have a different influence on you, but if in the sky you're going to have all these planetary alignments, or specifically 1 or 2 planetary alignments, then they will affect your destiny in some way. But obviously this is very unscientific, and the purpose of the video is to convince you that there is no such effect, right? There's no such effect which is happening on your destiny, and there's a lot of misinformation in social media about the planetary alignment. That's what I want to talk about. There is a useful application of planetary alignments. For example, NASA, it actually used planetary alignments for both its missions. There was Voyager 1 and Voyager 2. And Voyager 2 actually did what was called a grand tour. By grand tour, it actually visited 4 planets. And this alignment, so basically here you can see the Voyager 1 path. So you can see it passed through Jupiter and Saturn and Titan and comes out like this. So it also did, that was Voyager 1. While you can see Voyager 2 is actually coming out from here. It sees Jupiter, and then it sees Saturn, and then it sees Uranus and Neptune. So what it did, this is not exactly an alignment, but it actually used their position so that the same flyby can actually see all these planets. So Voyager 1 made flybys of Jupiter, Saturn, and Titan, while and it also discovered moons and rings at Uranus. Voyager 2 discovered moons and rings. That means all the outer planets actually have rings, and that was found by Voyager 2. Now, what is actually happening on January 25th? Okay, what you're seeing in the news is that 6 planets will be visible in the night sky. 4 of them are naked eye ones, that is Venus, Saturn, Jupiter, and Mars. And the other 2 are not naked eye ones, Uranus and Neptune. But what was being shown is a straight line, but they're not exactly in a straight line. I'll show you. So typically what's going to happen that in the evening in the southwest when the sun sets, you'll see Venus and you'll see Saturn very close to it. Jupiter is right on top, Mars is in the east, and if you have a telescope, you can also find Uranus and Neptune. So, but there's obviously nothing special about this. These are just the planets doing their usual business of going around the sun, and that's when they're going to appear like this. Mars is actually its biggest and brightest in this period. And it will be visible, say, from January 21st, will last for about 4 weeks. So here I'm showing you an image of, this is actually how the planets are on 25th Jan. So here's the sun, you can see Mercury over here. So in the evening sky, we do not see Mercury. We see it in the morning sky. You will not see it there. But if you actually see the evening is when the Earth looks this side. When the day, Earth is looking towards the sun and you'll see Mercury. But in the evening, you are going to see this. You will actually see Venus, and very close to it you'll see Saturn, and then there's Mars and Jupiter, Uranus and Neptune, right? So if you actually look in the sky, this is how it is. Here's the sun has already set. This is the overhead sky. Sun has already set, you can see Mercury is there, so you're not going to see Mercury, but you will see Venus and Saturn, and you can also see over here, you can see there's Jupiter, and then there's Mars. Yeah, you can see Mars over here, and so this is giving you an idea of what the sky is going to look like. So you actually see that it's not exactly, these guys are kind of in a straight line, but Saturn is over here and Venus is over here. So it's not exactly that kind of picture which has been shown on social media. It's not exactly like that. It's slightly different. And actually, these is how it will appear in the sky, right? But it's definitely a beautiful thing to view, so do have a look at it in the evenings. You can already see Venus looking very bright in the evening sky. Saturn is dim, so you may not catch it, but you can definitely catch Jupiter and Mars, right? That is easy with the naked eye. So try having a look at it. It's definitely a beautiful thing to see in the sky, but obviously the hype that has been on social media about it, nothing like that is going to happen to people's destinies. And it's not that the planets are lined up in a straight line, right? This is kind of this thing, but these guys are not exactly here. Saturn and Neptune are over here, and Uranus is somewhere close to Venus, but you need to see it with the telescope. So do enjoy the look of this, and I hope you like it. Yeah, but it's just something very ordinary because the planets are going around the sun. You could have such an alignment, and there's obviously no such implication on our destinies because of the position of these planets in the sky. So thank you. Bye-bye.